If you grew up with Sprout, you already know what I'm about to say. It was bedtime. It was Saturday morning with Chica. It was a birthday card you made with crayons that someone held up on screen and said your name. Over 830,000 kids sent those in. It was Nina and the Star saying goodnight while your mum turned the lights off. You don't need me to explain what Sprout was. You can still feel it. And yet, it's gone. Rebranded, gutted, stripped of everything that made it what it was, and then quietly switched off in 2025 with fewer viewers than a mid-tier Twitch streamer. And the story of how it happened is one of the ugliest stories I've ever seen in children's television. A story about corporate greed, identity theft, and a channel that got treated like an asset on a spreadsheet instead of something that actually mattered to millions of kids. Now, obviously, I'm British. I never had Sprout. I had CBeebies, which is still going strong because the BBC isn't run by a cable conglomerate. Yet. Give it time. But when I started looking into what actually happens to Sprout, I expected to see a simple story about a network getting cancelled. What I actually found was a story about a genuinely special thing that got dismantled piece by piece by people who never understood what they had. And it made me properly angry. Part 1. This is what they took from you. For those of us who didn't grow up with it, and honestly, I feel sorry for us, PBS Kids Sprout launched in September 2005. It was a 24-hour preschool channel that aired the entire PBS Kids library. Hit subscribe for more deep dives on American TV from a British point of view. Thank you, back to the video. Caillou, Thomas the Tank Engine, Barney, Super Y, Sesame Street, the Berenstain Bears. All day, every day. But the channel itself is what made it all special. The whole visual identity was built around arts and crafts. Cardboard, construction paper, pipe cleaners, pom-poms, felt. It looked like something your favourite teaching assistant made during their lunch break. The Good Night Show ran every evening. A host and a puppet called Star would wind down the day with you. Stories, songs, the works. The first host was a woman called Melanie Martinez, who actually got fired after less than a year for the most ridiculous reason. The host most people remember is Nina, played by Michelle Leppi, who took over in 2006 and became the soul of the channel for over a decade. Look, I know how that sounds. It's a kids show, but the way people talk about the Good Night Show is unlike anything I've ever seen for children's television. A college student writing for their university newspaper in 2024 put it like this: after a bath, I'd snuggle into her bed in my jammies and enjoy a few quiet moments of watching and interacting with the show before bedtime. This time was very special to me. Then there was the morning. The Sunny Side Up show was Sprout's live breakfast program. Real hosts, a puppet chicken called Chica, viewer birthday cards held up on air, weather reports, phone-ins. It was interactive in a way that nothing since has even come close to, because it was live and you were actually part of it. If you were a Sprout kid, you were a Sproutlet. You had your channel, not Nickelodeon, not Disney, yours. One fan born around 2007 wrote, I first discovered Sprout when watching Caillou on my parents' bed. Needless to say, I was hooked. I grew up with Sprout. Another fan with autism wrote that Sprout's programs meant a lot to children with special needs, probably due to the warm, playful nature they had that was hard to find on other shows. And that's exactly what this was. In a world of loud, hyperactive, algorithmically optimized kids content, Sprout was the quiet room, and yet someone decided to demolish it. Smash like if you remember Sprout, and let me know your favourite memories about Sprout in that comment section below. Part 2. The deal that doomed it. And here's what people get wrong about Sprout. They think PBS made it, but really, PBS lent its name to it. That's all PBS did. Sprout was actually a joint venture between 4 partners, all of whom wanted completely different things. Comcast, the largest cable company in America, owned 40% and ran the day-to-day operations out of Philadelphia. Hit Entertainment, the company behind Thomas the Tank Engine, owned 30% and committed $32 million over 5 years. PBS owned 15%, and Sesame Workshop also owned 15%. And PBS and Sesame Workshop put in zero cash, not a penny. But they had something that Comcast needed more than money: the brand. The letters PBS on a children's channel told every parent in America, this is safe, this is educational, you can trust this. That brand credibility is what got Sprout into 16 million homes on launch day. So PBS puts in no money, takes no risk, and somehow ends up with its name on a cable channel, reaching millions of families. Incredible deal if you can get it. Comcast got into this because they wanted another cable channel, and the PBS name was the price of admission. So from the start, you had a channel that looked like PBS, felt like PBS, had PBS in its actual name, but was majority owned and operated by one of the biggest media corporations on the planet. That crack was in the foundation before a single episode aired, and PBS's own local stations could see it. Many affiliates refused to cross-promote Sprout. Some launched their own competing PBS Kids channels instead. Even inside PBS, people knew that this arrangement was fragile. Part 3. The greed that killed it. Right, so here's where it all falls apart. In 2011, Comcast bought NBC Universal, the same Comcast that already owned the biggest chunk of Sprout. So now this little preschool channel is sitting inside one of the biggest media conglomerates on Earth. And you can probably guess where this is going. Indeed, everyone else saw the writing on the wall. Sesame Workshop sold their stake. Hit Entertainment got bought out. And then, in late 2013, PBS sold its 15% stake to NBC Universal. And I want to be careful about how I frame this, because I've seen people online absolutely destroy PBS for leaving, and I get it, but I also think that the truth is way more complicated than that. PBS is a non-commercial public broadcaster. That's its whole identity. And by 2023, it was the only non-commercial partner left in what had become an entirely commercial operation run by NBC Universal. A PBS spokesman said the partners had different goals, and honestly, that's probably true. PBS was never going to be comfortable sitting inside Comcast's empire long term. They were always going to leave eventually. But here's the thing that's honestly hard to forgive. Within weeks of PBS selling up, the PBS Kids name got stripped off the channel. Just gone. And I don't think people understand how big a deal that was. That name was the entire reason that parents trusted Sprout. It was the one thing that made it different from every other kids channel on cable. It was the shield. And once it came off, Sprout was just another asset in NBC Universal's portfolio. And that's where the greed kicked in. Because NBC Universal naturally didn't see a beloved preschool channel. They saw an underperforming cable property sitting on a channel slot that could be doing more. They'd just spent billions, by the way, buying DreamWorks Animation, and they needed somewhere to shove all that content. So, in September 2017, they gutted Sprout entirely. They changed the target audience from preschool kids to kids up to 11. They filled the schedule with DreamWorks cartoons and American Ninja Warrior Jr. They got rid of the Goodnight Show and the Sunny Side Up show. All of the stuff that people actually loved about Sprout. The handmade feel, the live hosts, Chica, Nina and Star saying goodnight, the birthday cards on screen. All of that got ripped out and replaced with stuff you could already watch on about 5 other channels. And I need you to think about what the Goodnight Show actually was, just for a second. It was the last thing millions of kids heard before they went to sleep at night. Nina's voice was literally what safety sounded like when you were small. And some executive somewhere looked at that and went, yeah, let's put a ninja obstacle course on instead. They didn't even know what they had. That's what gets me. They genuinely don't seem to understand the thing that they were throwing away. On the day the rebrand was announced, a fan called Diana, who has autism, wrote on a Sprouts fan wiki, I grew up watching Sprout. I got my 4th birthday card shown on Chica's Sunny Side Up show, and later that year, I called Barney on the channel for Thanksgiving. I remember when Deirdre Brennan announced my favourite channel's rebranding to Universal Kids. I sulked in my my bedroom and cried. She then wrote, "Sprout is really important to a girl with autism like me." On change.org, a parent posted a petition the same day the rebrand launched. It said, "Sprouts TV was literally the only channel that was designed and focused on younger age groups. My kids love it. Now, it has been replaced with Universal Kids, which shows cartoons my children have never heard of. Older children had an ample amount of channels to watch, while Sprouts was the only thing younger children had. Now, young children have nothing to work for and don't understand as to why their show was just taken from them." And the numbers tell the same story. Viewership dropped 30% basically overnight, and then it collapsed another 73% the year after that. Because it turns out that if you take everything people love about a channel and replace it with generic rubbish, people just stop watching. Who could have possibly seen that coming? Oh wait, everyone. Literally everyone. Even Leroy my cat could have seen that coming. Universal Kids, which is what they renamed it to, limped along for another 6 years after that, just playing reruns to basically nobody. They finally pulled the plug in March 2025. By then, the channel was averaging 20,000 viewers in prime time, which is fewer people than watch a mid-tier Twitch streamer. It was ranked 141st out of 154 cable networks. The channel that used to tuck in millions of kids every single night was dead last in a room full of channels nobody watches. Part 4. So, who killed Sprout? Look, I've seen this very question being asked from time to time, and I think the honest answer is greed killed Sprout. It wasn't one person. You can't really blame one company. It was the whole bloody system. Comcast's greed built the channel on a commercial foundation that was always going to clash with PBS's values. NBC Universal's greed turned a beloved preschool channel into a dumping ground for DreamWorks content nobody even asked for. The cable industry's greed meant Sprout existed behind a paywall in a world that was rapidly moving toward free streaming and, your boy, YouTube. Every decision that killed this channel was a decision made to chase money, rather than protect something that was actually working. And yeah, I think PBS themselves could have fought harder to stay. On behalf of Americans who grew up with it, I wish they had. Because when PBS left, the shield came off, and everything that made Sprouts special was suddenly vulnerable. PBS didn't kill Sprouts, but their departure opened the door for the people who did. And 3 years later, when PBS launched its own free 24-hour kids channel in January 2017, using everything they'd learned from being inside Sprout for over a decade, you can understand why some fans felt abandoned. PBS built something better for themselves, whereas Sprouts got left behind. In today's day and age, there's never going to be another Sprout. And I keep saying that because I genuinely mean it. A 24-hour preschool channel with live hosts and handmade everything and an actual bedtime ritual and real viewer interaction. That combination just doesn't exist anymore, and I don't think it's ever coming back. Because even cable itself is dying. YouTube and streaming have completely changed how kids watch things nowadays. There's never going to be another channel where someone holds up your kid's birthday card and says their name on live telly. That whole era is just gone, and it didn't have to be. American kids deserved a channel that just said goodnight to them every evening like it meant it. And they had one. And the adults who were supposed to protect it chose money instead. Part 5. And yet Sprout lives on. There are people on the Internet Archive right now uploading gigabytes of old Sprout recordings. Because NBC Universal, being NBC Universal, have been scrubbing Sprout from the internet, privatizing old YouTube videos, issuing takedowns, and fans are racing to save what's left before it's gone for good. The Sprout fandom wiki has over 5,000 pages. Their mission statement humbly states, "We won't let an important part of children's television be erased." Look, I'm the British guy who never watched a single episode of Sprout, and even I can feel what this channel meant to the people who grew up with it. It was bedtime. It was the sound of Nina's voice when the house was getting quiet. It was the birthday card made with crayons that someone held up on telly and said your name. It was the last gentle thing before you fell asleep. And for those reasons, they never should have cancelled it. Let me know in the comments what your favourite Sprout memory is. Whether that's the Good Night Show, the Sunny Side Up Show, or something else entirely. I want to hear your stories. And if you've never heard of Sprout before watching this video, then please go look it up before they erase the rest of it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Smash that like button if you made it to the end. You hero. See you soon. Snipe, snap, out.